Welcome back to the Manor, Entropians. Julian McBain here. And we are doing our... sound check. I've got silence. That's not good. Options. Sound. Master volume's way down. That's better. I've been keeping it low for my podcasts, but it's kind of important to have it here. So, what we're going to be doing is 3-hour live stream. We're ringing in the new year. Just like we did for 2020. We ended 2019 with a 2.25 hour live stream to ring in the new year. Today we're starting an hour earlier because I've got a normal start time now of 9 o'clock. For those of you who have been following my Fallout New Vegas playthrough, I will still be playing Fallout New Vegas tomorrow at my normal time slot, which is usually 9 to 11 on a Friday, so don't worry about that. But tonight we're going to just be hunting some kaphas here on Toulan, as I have been doing in my podcast, and just enjoying some quiet hunting as we get ready for 2020 to finally be over. And hope to God 2021 is better. Okay. So as you can see, I'm packing the Toulan armor because these are all a level-ish. And Buchan's spare rifle. And this is going to be the weakest one we kill all night. So, what my plan is for today is I just kind of want to do a 2020 year in review. And I know everyone's going to cringe at the idea of reviewing 2020. It's only been a nightmare hellscape for the last 365 days. And the funny thing is I have a nasty habit of saying things like 2020 has been the longest decade, because it really feels like it's been that long of a year. Like I thought 2016 was a long year, and 2020 has been so much worse. But we really need to remember that not everything that happened was bad. A lot of it was, but not everything was bad. Good things that happened to me, I started live streaming. You know, this has been an adventure of a year where I've live streamed. I've done a lot of Entropia Universe live streaming. I did the whole playthrough of Subnautica. I'm currently working on Fallout New Vegas. After New Vegas is over, I'm going to take like a 1 week break where I do Entropia Universe content, and then I'm jumping into Cyberpunk. I've been reviewing footage from one of my favorite streamers, Christopher Odd. You can go check out his channel. He does content creation full time, so he just puts out a ridiculous amount of it. And I've actually been following him since 2012 when I found his Portal playthrough, which was just awesome. And he's a fantastic creator. But what I've done is I want to play that game as blind as possible, but I need to make sure I'm not going to do anything that's going to violate YouTube terms and conditions. And if he's doing the game, obviously it's not bad enough to violate terms and conditions, but at the same time, I also have my own guidelines that I follow. So I'm watching a couple episodes, and I might pick a couple random ones. I just don't want to spoil anything, and that's really hard to do when you're watching a playthrough, which is why a couple of the other games that I've played are not blind. Like if I do a Horizon Zero Dawn playthrough, which is going to eventually happen, whether live or recorded, that will not be blind because I watched Christopher Hard's playthrough of it, which is also really well done. And I have to admit, there are times I've criticized him for certain tactics or for missing things, and then I go to play the game, I'm like, oh, these controls are not as easy as I thought they were. Or these mobs are Like, in Horizon, he had a nasty habit of he'd freeze an enemy and then hit it with fire arrows, which of course melts them. But then I played it and I'm like, oh, these robots mean some serious business. So yeah, 2021 is going to be good. I think we did some good stuff in 2020. Developed a lot of the content on my channel, started the podcast, and I think that's going rather well, all things considered. It's definitely attracting I think what it's doing is it's kind of altering my audience a little bit, and I hope that's a good thing, but I don't want to leave behind the people that have been with me the whole time either. So what I'm hoping is that I can keep the original audience engaged while attracting new audiences in. And that's the balance I'm trying to strike with the podcast. And whether I succeed or fail is, well, that's what remains to be seen. I've only done 5 episodes. But what it came down to is there's a lot of things that I want to talk about. And unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of opportunity to talk about them. And so what this does is it gives me an opportunity to express those ideas, those feelings. I mean, that's what a podcaster does, right? He talks about his feelings or her feelings on the internet. But at the same time, I also want to talk about my ideas, and where there's problems, I want to try proposing solutions. And so what I've done is, instead of doing a lot of the random talking that I used to do, as I'm doing tonight, because this is a live stream, and I'm really hoping to have some engaged chatter here in a little bit. What I've done is I'm doing more research. I'm digging into a subject. Like my last episode, I dug into the origin of taxes and why we pay them, and I came up with a way to stop making them necessary, or more accurately, a way to replace them with a different way of doing things. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and check out that podcast at some point. But that's the whole point of the podcast, is I'm doing more research, digging deeper into subjects. I mean, at the same time playing Entropia Universe, because, of course I'm playing Entropia Universe. But, hi, Kat. Thank you for joining. That is good. Let's see, other good things that happened in 2020. Well, I became father to a teenager. And I don't mean that I suddenly acquired a teenager. My son turned 13. And he started his own YouTube channel. He goes by Snack Eater McBain. I don't know if he's searchable or not. I'm having trouble finding him all of a sudden, but I'm going to go in and look. I'll try to find his channel in the YouTube algorithm, which of course doesn't have a whole lot because he's got like 2 people who subscribe to him. And one of them is his grandmother. But what we'll do is he's starting on his path, and I want to see how his path goes. And he's doing Minecraft content, so in all likelihood, within a year, he'll surpass my subscriber base. Because isn't that how it usually works? The kids usually outdo the parents at the new thing. So, how is everyone doing? How is everyone's 2020? Drop some chatter in the chat. Let me know who's here with us and how your 2020 went beyond the obvious. It's true. The Rona came around, and now we're all under some lockdowns of varying severity and authoritarianism. But I'd love to know some of the good that came out of this year, because there has been good, and I think that's something that we need to, and maybe it's my optimism bias, but it's something that I really want to. Oh, he has 5 subscribers. Okay, thank you, Kat. So you found him. Could you do me a favor, Kat, and drop a link in the chat to his channel? I know there probably won't be a whole lot of crossover for audience, but he's my boy. I gotta promote him a little bit. So yeah, as people come in, if you could just Let me know what happened to you that was good in 2020. And what you're looking forward to in 2021. I know that I'm happy to say that the vaccine has been released, and there's been some resistance to it, which was kind of expected for the most part because of how fast it was released, which is fair. This by far has been the most aggressively developed vaccine, I think, in the history of humankind. But at the same time, you know, talk to your doctor and follow what they say. And I know that we've got to focus on the groups that are truly vulnerable to COVID. I mean, of course, it has a nasty side effects on everyone, but focusing on the elderly and those who are in direct contact with them and with our frontline healthcare workers. You know, we developed a vaccine for a severe illness in record time, and it appears to be working for the most part. So, thank you, Kat. So, Kat, tell me why it's a very meta moment. Sad part is I can't remember if I'm subscribed to his channel. I've gotta be. I've gotta be. Huh. I am now. Don't tell him. Bad father. So yeah. Looking forward to the good stuff. I think I'm looking forward to being able to have regular gatherings with my friends again. And I know that seems... A year ago, that would have seemed like a small thing. And nowadays, it's not. Yes, I am promoting my son's YouTube channel while live streaming my own. He is not live streaming right now. He, like any proper 13-year-old, is playing Doom. You didn't have to retract that, Cat. You know, it's funny, I watched some of the games they're putting out and remember when their original iteration came out, like 25 years ago. Like Doom. You know, Bethesda put out Doom Eternal, and the game is beautiful. I don't know if I'll do a playthrough of that at any point. I might, just because Doom is a classic. It always has been. It was the first real first-person shooter. It had the first power armored Space Marine. Okay, that's fair. But like I remember crawling through the halls of the original Doom, and it was this weird 2.5D kind of situation where they did their best to make it as 3D as possible, but everything was still pretty much an 8-bit. And everyone thought that by letting your kids play, you'd start, like, doing awful things or worshipping the devil or some shit. And the only thing I looked for is, you know, my son said Doom, I'm like, oh yeah, this is one of the games that, you know, my grandparents and my parents freaked out about back in the day. Let me just look at the ESRB rating. I'm like, oh, violence and gore, big whoop-de-doo. This isn't the 80s anymore. Go ahead. And I think that's another good thing that happened in 2020 is the metamorphosis of my relationship with my son as he's gotten older. And the 12 to 13 line is a big year of development. And I've just seen, even with all the negatives that 2020 have wrought, I have seen a lot of positives in that sphere. So I'm very thankful for that. Yes, Doom was the origin of the BFG. And the best part is, someone ported the BFG into Gary's mod, which is, and probably everyone knows what Gary's mod is by this point, but for the uninitiated, it is it's a source or engine playground where you can just import shit and you can play around with your friends. You can zap mods everywhere, or mobs everywhere, and you can actually do whole game overlays. People have built entire games inside of Gary's mod using it as an engine because it's basically the source engine playground. Well, all the Doom weapons got imported into it. And so now my son and I will actually get into Gary's mod and we'll start shooting at each other with the BFG. Because it's ridiculous and fun. BFG is one of those things that really proved that video games themselves will begin to alter the culture. Because, I mean, of course, BFG means big fucking gun, and it was never a thing before Doom, as Kat said. And now, when you say BFG, everyone knows what you're thinking. And they don't necessarily mean the game itself, but like, if I were to look at a 50 caliber sniper rifle and I'm like, it's the BFG 9000, everyone knows the reference. You know, it's a gun that fires a ridiculously sized round. That's basically what it means. Or it fires a bomb. Like a Fat Man in Fallout is essentially a BFG, except that's more of a catapult that throws nuclear bombs. Okay, maybe that's not a great allegory. But it's amazing how much of our parlance has come out of video games. And I don't think a lot of our forebears, you know, the Gen Xers and the boomers, really understand just how much of our culture has been shaped by gaming. And I don't even think a lot of my generation, I'm a millennial, I'm an older millennial, so I was born in the 80s. I'm old enough to have watched the Berlin Wall come down on TV and remember it, at least in fragmented form. I think I was 6. And the amount of cultural shift that I've seen in my 36 years, almost 37, has been amazing. And the amount that has been, the amount of that shift that has been directed by video games and the stories in video games is far greater, I think, than most people really understand. Yep. I thought Game Over Man came from Apocalypse Now. I could be wrong about that. But Achievement Unlocked, most definitely. And I've heard people that don't game say Achievement Unlocked from time to time. It's like, Achievement Unlocked. And I'm like, do you even know where that comes from? I mean, they probably do. They probably do. But at the same time, it's nothing we would have thought of 20 years ago. Well, maybe. When did achievements really become a thing? Was it WoW that introduced achievements? I think it was WoW that really introduced achievements the way we think of them today. But yeah, no, and now having I had a brain fart there. Having spent like an hour watching Cyberpunk 2077 content, and some of the terms that they use that are actually from the original, I believe it was an RPG, like a classic tabletop RPG. And of course, if I pull it up, it's always pulling 2077 up. But what I want is the original Cyberpunk universe. Yep, it was a dystopian tabletop role-playing game written by Mike Pondsmith. There was also Cyberpunk 2020. Boy, weren't they friggin' prophetic there. And Cyberpunk Red. So the original Cyberpunk was based in 2020. And they were... I think that they foresaw things we probably never did. Yeah, Kat, you're absolutely right. Right. Gaming has become an outlet for people of all ages, of all demographics, all origins, from the richest to the poorest. It really has become an outlet. And the best part is, and this is really strange, in real life, a lot of the people that we interact with, we stratify ourselves based upon what our social status is and the people we grew up with. And that will impact where you can go and how you can get there. And I mean, we have a lot of social mobility, especially in the United States, when compared to some other cultures that we still have in the world. But at the same time, it will always be influenced by where we come from. You know, someone who grew up in a blue-collar town is going to have a much different worldview than someone who grew up living in a condo in the middle of, like, New York City. Both of them can jump into a game like Entropia Universe, and they'll end up on a team together, or go into WoW and they'll end up in a guild together. And those social stratifications disappear. It's its own society. It's a subculture. So, like, when I'm here, I'm in Entropia Universe. My avatar is the sum of what my avatar has accomplished. It has nothing to do with my real life social standing. It has nothing to do with what demographic I'm in for anything. None of that. What matters is what my avatar says, does, and is. And so because of that, it's almost as if we have a second... well, they named a game Second Life, and that's basically what our gaming life is. Gaming's become an outlet for so many people that it has supplanted a lot of social norms when you're in the game. So, like, I could interact with someone in this game, and it could be Vin Diesel, and I'd never know. In fact, Vin Diesel plays World of Warcraft, and he plays it enough to where, and I guess Hollywood has its own server that's private, but I don't think that's really true. There's a good chance you've probably gone through a dungeon run on World of Warcraft if you're pugging with at least one person who's famous, and you'll never know because they've all got different names. And so that's really cool. That, you know, I could be out here hunting, and I could be low on health, and someone could run up to me and heal me, and for all I know, it's Queen Elizabeth. Yes, and the different character archetypes, definitely. Yes, I 100% agree with you, Kat. They act differently than they might in real life, or it allows them to act in ways that their own status prevents them from doing. Prevents them from doing. So, for instance, there are a lot of people in Entropia Universe who are pirates. And piracy is considered a legit form of gameplay in this game. I mean, sure, it earns the ire of a lot of players, and some pirates are cool and other pirates are assholes. But it's considered legit. If you did that in real life, you're considered a criminal. And so it's a very interesting dichotomy. Sorry for the silence, guys. I'm just trying to make sure that if anyone's typing something, I want to make sure I'm able to catch up with them. So yeah, gaming has developed into its own subculture. And I'll be very interested to see where we go with it in the future. I think that VR, which is still kind of a burgeoning technology, we don't have great development of it yet. A lot of the games are fairly basic, but even mobile VR is intensely immersive. I have a Google Daydream view, and I've got a Pixel, so of course it's compatible. And although I know that means the giant corporation is always monitoring me, it's Google. They're monitoring me anyway from everywhere else. Basically now deciding on, it's not if the giant corporation is listening in on your conversations and monitoring you, it's which giant corporation is doing it. And this is why I say we live in a cyberpunk dystopia. But I've played, there's a couple of games I've played in the Daydream. And I've got one of those collar type, I'm sure you've seen it in my podcast, the collar type Bluetooths. And you put the plugs in and you put the headset on and you are 100% immersed. It's insane. And so, it had actually been my plan to pick up a VR headset this year. That ended up I had to reprioritize due to a number of factors, COVID being one of them. There were other things that I needed to pick up now while they were still available to buy. And so what I have done is next year, it is my intent to pick up a VR headset, and I might start making some VR content. But I find VR to be intense. I do. Because it is so immersive. I don't have a description for it. And this is playing on something basic like a Daydream. Like, mobile VR is not what we call high technology. It is not an Oculus. It's not a Vive. But I don't care. Like, I got a chance to try out, like, a VR Minecraft. I won't call it a ripoff. It's a clone. It's a Minecraft clone in VR. And it was fairly immersive. And I think Minecraft includes VR compatibility. I think there's a version of Minecraft that's compatible with VR. I'm not a Minecraft guy, but if that shit's in VR, I'm in. I would totally give that a shot. 100%. And my only fear is so I'm a former pilot. Being up high does not bother me. I have gone up to 10,000 feet, kicked a plane over, and spun the damn thing. I have done 2G descents. I kind of miss doing 2G descents. This was my jam. Doesn't mean that when I fall from high places in a video game, it doesn't sometimes give me just a little bit of anxiety. And it's like Subnautica. I'm not sure I could play Subnautica in VR because I'm borderline aquaphobic. And that game gave me anxiety playing it on the screen because it's so immersive to begin with. Could you imagine running into a ghost Leviathan in fucking VR? No. No, 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 no. And, I think I mentioned to Captain Aubrey that you could play Subnautica in VR. And he was like, nope. Because... no, not happening. On the other hand, Borderlands 2 also has a VR port. And so does Fallout 4. And I have not played Fallout 4 all the way through. I've played a good chunk of it, but not all the way through. And I don't know what it is, like, I played through all of 3, save the last mission, and that was because the file got corrupted. I was rather upset at that the file got corrupted just before the last mission, and, oh, Jesus. I'm still irritated at that. And I wasn't going to play through the whole game again just to do one mission, right? So, okay. I played through all the way through New Vegas. We're doing it again, as you can see, and we're doing all the DLC this time, which I have not done before. Like, I've done the Big Empty before. I did Zion Valley before, which is what we're in now. You can check that out tomorrow. I have not done all of the Sierra Madre, and I have not done the Lonesome Road DLC, which is the reunion quest. The Sierra Madre does give me some anxiety. I don't know why. That has always been a tough place for me, and I don't know if it's because of what you face there. Ah, crap. Or if it's just because of the difficulty setting. I just don't know. Oh, No Man's Sky has a VR? Okay. Okay, that... When I get a headset, that's happening. Because, Kat, isn't No Man's Sky that giant... VR space game where it's all procedurally generated? I think that's the one. I know it. I remember hearing it had some challenges early on, but they did a lot of work to it. But if that shit's in VR, I'm in 100%. And I know Mindark's been adding a lot of VR support to Entropia Universe. And I totally want to check that shit out, too. Not perfect. They're working on it. I mean, to be fair, CryEngine was never intended to be played with in VR. But it's an extremely flexible engine. I remember back when the CryEngine, because this is a Cry 2 engine, I think. Okay, thanks, Captain Aubrey. I remember back when the CryEngine is how you tested your computer. Like, that was the trial by fire, because when they developed the CryEngine originally, they said they developed it for a computer that had not been designed yet. And so people bought Crytek just to see how well their computer could handle it. And it freaking hurt. I don't think it damaged computers, but it crashed on a lot of systems back in the day. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Captain Aubrey. Yeah, I was wondering about that. Because, like, when No Man's Sky came out, I thought it was an awesome idea. Whoa, let's not die. But then I started seeing all these complaints about it. And so my first question was, did Bethesda develop it? And then after that, God, I'm going to start... Well, no, I guess I can't... I'm not worried about Bethesda fans throwing shit at me because they're all just nodding their heads. But I loved the premise of it. But I've been avoiding it because of all the issues it has. But if they've done all of the updates they said they were going to do, if it's in VR, I'm in. Another game I want to try in VR that I have not played classically, and the reason I haven't done it because I've heard of it. It sounds really cool. Is Elite Dangerous, which is basically an authentic spacefaring game where space is the space is as big as it actually is, right? They did the scaling like 100%. And that's a game I would totally do in VR because it's so immersive, because I want to fly a spaceship. And it's not oversimplified. You actually have to fly a complex machine. It's as complex as you would expect it to be. Okay, yeah, Captain Aubrey. It was, from what I understood, it was horribly overhyped, but I'm glad to hear that they fixed it. So, Bruce, welcome to the channel. 2021's 15 hours old. Has anything changed? Tell us from the future. Have the lockdowns ended? Can we go back to regular life yet? One of my favorite creators, Scotty C93, actually dropped a video a couple hours ago that says first video in 2021, and I'm like, it's not 2021 yet for me, dude. Oh, this is probably one of the more fun parts of the year because as the date changes across the world, it's actually 2 different years, at least by calendar, in different parts of the world. So I'm still sitting in 2020, but people like Bruce are in 2021. And that's actually kind of awesome. Oh yeah, New Zealand opened right back up, didn't they? Being in Vermont, I'm actually fairly lucky we don't have a hard lockdown. There's expectations and recommendations, and there's a mask mandate that is unenforceable, but realistically, Vermonters being the type of people that we are, we try to look out for each other, and so we've all been keeping an eye on the science and doing what we have to, but because of that, we haven't really had to do like they did in New York City, where everyone's been pretty much locked in their homes. So yeah, I'm getting all kinds of good ideas for when the VR thing starts. One other game I want to do in VR, and I don't know if I can live stream VR. The problem with trying to live stream VR is I have no way of interacting with chat. Like, none. I can't read the chat from under a headset. I can't have a separate computer or a monitor. And so I don't know if live streaming VR is a good idea unless I figure out how to make it so that I can project chat into the VR headset. Which is, I'm sure there's a way to do it. That doesn't mean I have that ability. That's something I would have to look at and figure out. But, like, I want to play Budget Cuts, which I've seen some highlights of, and it looks awesome. Because that's like a stealth game, but it's all robots. And there's no guns, but you have to take out enemies with, like, throwing knives and scissors and what have you. You know, Kat, you're right. I could try to stream Among Us. I could absolutely do that. I would have to talk to all of our friends about it. I don't think they would care. But I'd have to keep an eye on one of the children. So for those of you who don't know, like, you know, just about everyone on the planet right now, I play Among Us with a bunch of friends. And among them include my son and then the children of another friend. And so, you know, YouTube rules, 13 and up, it's not a problem, but if you're under 13, it is a problem. So I just have to check in with that person. But I think doing Among Us on a stream might be a lot of fun. I think Among Us is awesome. It's just, I don't know how this didn't catch fire earlier. And whoever developed Among Us, they did it back in 2018. It was probably just like, oh yeah, we're getting a little bit of income off it. It's a great project. Then 2020 rolls around, everyone gets locked in their fucking homes, and all of a sudden, those people who developed Among Us are rich. Because everyone's playing it. Like, now, calling something sus is just part of the parlance. When I was watching Christopher's Cyberpunk 2077 playthrough the first hour, he goes, this is looking kind of sus. And I'm like, some dude's been playing Among Us. And it's funny because, like, these are all people I actually hang out with when we're not, you know, under quarantine. So I've spent time with everyone here, and now we're all like, you're always suspicious. I don't trust you. You're trying to kill me. Although I have to admit, more often than not, I'm actually I'm almost more fun of playing hide and seek in Among Us than classic Among Us. So for those of you who don't know, in Among Us, you have one imposter. You have anywhere between 1 and 3 imposters, and the rest of the people are crewmates. The crewmates have to complete tasks, and everyone has to complete their list of tasks before the imposter or imposters kills everyone. Alternatively, the crewmates can attempt to throw the imposter out the airlock. If they manage to throw out all the imposters, the crewmates win by default. Of course, they don't tell you who the imposters are, and so you have to figure it out. And so it's not uncommon for you to throw out other crewmates. And so you've got a group of friends who are friends and family and have been for a long time. And now we're all like, you aren't who you say you are, I'm sus of you. And I have the feeling that once we go back to normal, that's just gonna like carry on. It's like, no, you're always sus. You always stab me or shoot me or do the whole Terminator 2 through the head thing, except in Among Us it's with a tongue. Unfortunate spacemen, yes! Right, Shodan? They're like potatoes with legs. So yeah, maybe I will do some streaming of Among Us. Those will be more random. They won't be my scheduled streams. But, Kat, we play Among Us what? Tater tots with legs. Yes, that is awesome. I think we play Among Us anywhere between 1 and 3 times a week, depending on the week. So if nothing else, maybe I'll just record it and release them randomly. Hey, for those of you who are in the chat, if you could do me a favor and just smash the like button for me, it really helps my channel out. And if you're new to the channel, welcome to the manor. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button down below, because we're on the road to 13 million subscribers, 1 subscription at a time. So make sure you subscribe. I haven't done that in a while. So yeah, no, all good stuff. All good stuff. You know, the funniest thing is I don't even think about how much we've been playing Among Us lately, because for me it's like social hour. And I think maybe it's because we have become so used to the changes that have happened in 2020 so far. I never, you know, and it's been mentioned that I should stream Among Us, or at least do the recording of it. But in a lot of ways, that's become our socialization. Things like Among Us. I have a weekly Zoom meeting with my friends that's facilitated by my best friend. And it's become part of the routine. Because we look for a sense of normalcy when things get turned sideways. And we don't have normalcy right now. So we've created a new normalcy that's temporary. It fills in the gap between normal year 2019 and hopefully normal year 2021. And if not 2021, then 2022. I think we're going to return to normalcy. I'm hoping we return to normalcy. Because I think we need normalcy. We strive for it. We look for it. It's what we look for in life. That's part of the reason I hate the phrase the new normal. We shouldn't have to get used to the way life has become. I mean, we have to deal with it, at least in the short term, and even in the medium term, because there are facts of life that we have to contend with. And one of the things we have to contend with is the fact that there's a virus that we understand better now than we did a year ago, but that we're still figuring out. But when you say normal, normal means forever. And that's why I kind of knee-jerk against it. So, Kat, out of curiosity, is that because of the how prevalent Zoom meetings and phone calls have become due to the pandemic? Because you're right. I've had more to a certain extent. I have had more contact with family outside of what would have been the norm because we can't gather. On the same token, with my family, for instance, we've suffered some losses in the last year and a half. My great aunt passed, my grandmother passed, and so my family, when there's a crisis in my family, we gather. That's what we do, is we gather. Well, this is the one crisis that we can't gather. And so it's been very hard on a family that's been used to, shit's done got crazy. So everyone gets together, we have a potluck, and we suss the whole thing out during the potluck. Like, that's literally how my family handles crises. When shit does get bad, we've held family reunions, and we all laugh and joke and play, and then all of the people in charge of the family, my family's kind of old-fashioned. It's kind of strange, really. It's I don't really know how to qualify it anymore. It's become a lot less like it was, say, 20, 30 years ago. Like, my family used to have a matriarch. And we had a matriarch right up until the last 5 years. Well, the last 10 years. Because when I left for Montana, we still effectively had a matriarch, even though our global 14 pet. It's a small one, but I'll take it. Okay, no, that's fair, Kat. Zoom meetings and Among Us are amazing for social interaction and family. But like I was saying, my family had a matriarch. And when my great-grandmother passed, 20 years ago now? No, it wasn't that long ago, but it was a long time. One of her youngest daughters ended up becoming the matriarch, because the matriarch was the person who coordinated all the family shit. Like the ramrod, the person who said, okay, we're having a family reunion on X date, everyone be there, bring a dish. Right? And that was just the way things were. And the matriarch that we have insofar as we can have one, is still around, and she actually lived with us for a couple of months during my grandmother's final illness. And it's just one of those things where, when when crisis happens, Tories gather. And we can't gather for this. And it's been a very different experience for us. Yes, you're right. Normal is routine, and routines can be adapted. That is fair. But I will stipulate that as much as we have gotten used to this new normal, I really want the old normal back. I miss stabbing my friends with fencing swords. Don't ban me, YouTube. Oh, jeez. So we continue to push forward. Yes, I would agree, Kat. I think that the weekly meetings with family have been really beneficial. Now that everyone has a better grasp of virtual environments, we can utilize them to good effect. Hang on. Sorry, it seems like my allergies have decided to kick up. What it has done is it's given us an incentive to continue to communicate. And I'm hoping that that part continues, the increased communication. That being said, what I'm hoping is that we don't all become recluses, which I always thought would be the thing to do. Like, I was always the more reclusive, introverted, and I have my limits. You know, if I people too much, I have to not people for a while. And in fact, I remember an event I went to before the lockdowns. This was earlier this year. This was in 2020. And by the time we were headed home, and it was myself and several friends in my Jeep, and then we were traveling with another vehicle load of friends. I think there were only the two vehicles. I don't think there was a third. At one point, we went to Dunkin' Donuts, for those of you who don't live in the Dunkies area. And I grabbed my coffee and I just sat in my car while they all chatted. And someone asked, well, why aren't you interacting? I'm like, I have been peopling all weekend and I need 5 minutes to not people. And now I look back and it's like, I really miss peopling. I do. And so that's, while I know I have limits, I am really looking forward to peopling, like honest peopling, when this is all over. Maybe that's why everyone's taken to the Zoom meetings and Among Us so well. Because it's as close to peopling as we can get in the time for the time being. It gives a semblance of interaction. Even if it is just a reasonable facsimile. How's our gun looking? Oh, we're good. You know, it's funny, a year ago to the day, with 2019 ending and 2020 looming, with no knowledge of what was coming. You know, things were building and optimism was high. The name of my stream was We're streaming until 2020. And now a year later I'm like, we're streaming until 2020 ends. Just let the hellscape be over. Oh. But the question is what comes next? Hang on. Got too warm today, so of course now my allergies are wreaking havoc. Probably have to down another Claritin. What comes with 2021? Well, right now the intent, by the end of 2021, I intend to have a VR headset and start producing VR content. I can't guarantee that, but we're working on it. I've got the podcast. I'm still in negotiations with that production company. For now, it's going to be produced under my own brand, but I am negotiating with the owner of a small production company here in Vermont, whose podcast I've been on a few times during my political campaign, to possibly tie in with him. So that'll be good. And if that's the case, I don't know what that'll do for the podcast itself, whether that'll move or if it's just going to be tied in. Beyond that, I'm looking forward to gathering again. I'm looking forward to getting back in the fighting ring. I'm looking forward to camping. I miss camping. I didn't camp a single time this year. And you know, it's funny, as a kid I hated camping. Partially because camping meant no video games, but also because it was always in a tent. And now I'm like, why the fuck would anyone want to camp in an RV? It kind of defeats the purpose. It's like, let's pop up some easy ups and we'll set up a camp kitchen and, you know, I've got my big Viking tent with a blow up bed. Actually, I haven't used that Viking tent in a number of years. But yeah, no, I think I'm optimistic for 2020. Cautiously optimistic for 2021. I am. We'll see what happens. Because realistically, there's a couple of options. One, the vaccine spreads, everything goes back to normal, and you know, life continues. Life will continue on either way, but life goes back to what we remember as being normal. Number 2, the cyberpunk dystopia perpetuates itself and things get really interesting. You know, it's a I think it was a Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times, and we certainly live in those. And I think that these interesting times that we live in, they shape us, they affect us, but only we can decide what they're going to turn into. We have to make the world around us, and we do that by deciding how we are going to allow the forces that act upon us to affect us. You know, it's like in CGP Grey's Rules for Rulers. If you wish to act from the throne acts upon you. Similarly, just as we act upon life, life acts upon us. But how life acts upon us can alter how we decide we act upon life. And I think that's going to get very interesting. So, okay. It is now 10 o'clock. The first hour's down. As soon as I kill off this mob, I'm going to take a $5. Time for drinks. And we'll roll straight into hour 2. Ah, I double D'd the howdy. Oh well. Back off here. Okay, so I'm going to pop over to a safe spot here. Ooh, 28 peck worth of Kaffa's tail. I know there's a joke there somewhere. Hey, Bob. Yeah, no, that's what I'm figuring. So, okay. I'm going to take a $5, and then we're going to roll straight into hour 2. We'll be right back. Don't go nowhere, or get yourself a drink and come right back. So apparently I totally put the wrong card up there. This was the card I was supposed to put up. It wasn't. That's okay. We're back. Well, the right card for when hour 2 ends. So, Bob, how you been? How's the weather up there in Alaska? I know that things are probably kind of chilly there. Anyway. Trying to get my brain back in order. I do think 2021 is going to be very interesting. Not bad yet? Well, that's good to know. Alaska's about the one of... So I've lived in North Dakota, which has recorded same-name temperatures colder than Mars. I'm sure Alaska has actually suffered far worse than that. So you have my respect. Worst month is January. That is fair. Down here in my neck of the woods, it's usually February. But I mean, it's just how the airflows go. Oh, Jesus Christ, Bob, don't say that. No, 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 no. Not okay. Not cool, dude. Oh, damn. 2020 is over. Now the real game begins. Fuck. Although, I keep saying it, you know, we're navigating the Cyberpunk Dystopia. And, the more I look at it, the more I think that is the case. That is, you know, less of a euphemism. And I know that one of my other viewers said the same thing. Thanks to Slag and Skin Plateful, Jeremiah. You know, we've got the whole formulation together. Giant unaccountable corporations. And it's funny. 10 years ago, I wrote a book called Ghosts of the Past. There is a copy of it sitting right next to me. Where giant corporations literally run everything, but there's no government. And the employees own the companies. Largely speaking. And so there was a time when I thought the idea of giant corporations running things was a good thing. And now I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh my god. The people who wrote Shadowrun were right. This is a terrible idea. So, Mass Effect took a lot of its idea, any game that took its ideas that Megacorps run everything, took it from Cyberpunk. The major games that came out of Cyberpunk were Cyberpunk Tabletop and Shadowrun, which is another tabletop game. Shadowrun was produced by Fosu, who also created BattleTech. And Bob, I would be willing to chat about that. I absolutely would be willing to chat about that. I would not mind playing some tabletop Cyberpunk. You know how long it's been since I played a tabletop RPG? It's been years. And to be fair, part of that reason is because I made the mistake of, on my first foray as GMing in like 10 years, I decided the first adventure I'd put my friends through including the girl I was dating at the time, it was a D&D game where it was a mansion and everything was literally every piece of furniture in the mansion was a mimic. Hey, GURPS works. GURPS is a good system from what I understand. I never used it, but most of the people who have used it really like it. So, Kat, the reason that corporations are people, this is actually a great subject, and maybe this is a topic I'll really tackle inside of a podcast. But the reason that corporations are classified as people is for two reasons. One, if a corporation's a person, it has citizenship of some sort. And that means that it has certain rights and certain responsibilities. You can't tax a non-citizen. Or you can't tax a non-person. You can tax a person. You can tax a non-citizen, but what I meant is you can't tax a non-person. The other thing is without that personage, you can't sue them. As a matter of law, in order to sue someone, they have to be a person. And that's why corporations are classified as people. They're considered artificial people, but they're people. Right, guys? Overkill, D&D PTSD. You want to check that? Just no! I need to, like, publish the Mimic House adventure. Like, in generic format, so it's D20 compatible or some shit like that. I was actually rather proud of that adventure. I had based it on a concept called Montaire's Mansion from Inquest magazine back in the day. Created this horror setting, haunted house type thing. And it had a lot of really cool shit built into it. And this is back before I ever RPG'd. And so I ran some friends through it, and they really liked it. Except the one friend who picked up the flail out of the trophy room and then found out it was cursed after I burned the place down. And so that was a lot of fun. So I wanted to kind of capture the spirit of that, but add a really unique take to it. And I thought, well, what if I create a house where the majority of the furniture or all the furniture are mimics of various types. And it doesn't mean they're all aggressive, but they're all mimics. And so that was the premise. See, the irony behind corporations is they're kind of an amalgamation. They're quasi-people, but they're also quasi-governments. Because within the corporation themselves, they have bylaws, people vote. They're run by a president. It's very, very interesting how we've created this structure that in itself is a person, but also governs itself similarly to a government system. Back when I wrote Ghosts of the Past, I came up with an idea called the sovereign corporate entity. And it was based on a concept that instead of governments having sovereignty, companies could. And by doing so, their employees became their citizens almost. The corporations would be responsible not just for profits, but to maintain the quality of life of their employees. And by building themselves up, the employees could eventually buy stock, become owners, they get a voice. And that was the whole idea behind the sovereign corporate entity, or the SCE. And my ex-wife and I wrote a couple of books on the matter called the Dead World series, one of which has been published in the past, and Kat did me the favor of doing a huge edit on it that I really need to actually, go through and perform, because she put all that work in. And there was a sequel called Hunting the Jackal. And so it explored this whole idea that corporations could just be more than quasi people. They could also be quasi government, because they basically are. But it was the idea that these massive corporations were more like they were benign. Everyone assumes the corporations are going to be evil. And unfortunately, Google has pretty much proven that eventually that's probably going to be the case. I mean, shit. Google's motto used to be "Don't be evil," and then they just removed that from the motto. It's like, Google, are you feeling okay? And I went into on one of my podcasts, I think it was the 4th one, where our megacorps have really become the new Zaibatsu. Yeah, Bob. Well, all of your towns are technically corporate governments. That's why they call them incorporated towns or unincorporated towns. They're literally government corporations. It's just that we don't see them that way because they don't sell stock. They're not out there for a profit. It would take a lot of doing and a lot of nuance, and the idea was it requires sovereign individuality. The Dead World series, it's all ANCAP, right? For those of you who aren't familiar, it's all anarcho-capitalism. Yeah, Jeremiah, you would think that Google would keep the slogan or at least fake it, but they're engaging in corporate censorship, so it's kind of hard to pretend. Don't be evil by censoring speech. Don't be evil by trying to help China create a censored version of Google. So they decided, well, we could stop. We could continue with the slogan of not being evil and do the thing, or we can pick up that sweet, sweet RMB. And we're so big now, we're free from consequence because we're large enough to where even our CEO might be unarrestable. Because if we find out that the police are coming after him, we can just buy a couple of private military companies. And who do you think's going to win? So yes, Bob, we actually have a corporate structure very similar to that, where everyone gets a single share of voting stock, and any further shares purchased are non-voting. And some states have this and some states don't, to my knowledge. But here in Vermont, we call it the cooperative. And that was the basis behind the sovereign corporate entity. When you became employed by a corporation, you gained 1 share of voting stock. You could not buy any more shares of voting stock. And in so doing, you became essentially a citizen of that corporation. In Hunting the Jackal, the Zaibatsu, which is a company in the book, in the series, it's the Zaibatsu. It's not like the Mitsubishi Zaibatsu or the Mitsui Zaibatsu. And speaking of which, I was reminded today that the Sumitomo and Mitsui Zaibatsus were combined after the U.S. broke up Zaibatsu. The Zaibatsu sends a strike team in order to another company, like they attack another company, which is not allowed generally, but because elements from that company were suspected of kidnapping children of employees of the Zaibatsu. And so, because it was the Zaibatsu's duty to protect their employees and their families, they sent their Zaibatsu security forces after into this company's holdings to try to recover these children, and they did. And yes, Captain Aubrey, I am aware that YouTube is part of Google. So YouTube LLC is owned by, I think technically the way it works, YouTube is actually owned by Alphabet, which of course is the holding company that also owns Google. It's the second largest, YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, which is owned by the largest search engine in the world. But they have their own rules. They do censor content, and they do determine what you're allowed to see. Like, if you search something on Google and then search it on Bing, you're going to get different results. And I'm aware that I utilize the YouTube platform, which is a Google subsidiary. But this is why I'm also starting to push my podcast to other platforms. It's currently on Rumble. As I grow, I'm going to expand to Minds. I have published content on Minds in the past. For those of you who aren't familiar, Minds is kind of like Facebook, but not evil. So, and you're not wrong, Bob, and I'm willing to bet, first of all, that's a very Ferengi solution to the issue, which is exactly the tack I took when I came from the idea of the corporation. It was less Ferengi and more Goblin, but it was still Ferengi. And I'm like, when I looked at the Ferengi society, for all of its problems, like, you know, the rampant misogyny, they had a lot of good ideas. They just executed them in the worst possible ways. And so I took those ideas and I kind of took them to what I thought their logical conclusion was. But here's the thing. Any society that runs like a corporation is going to be here, or I should say, here's the difference. Currently in our society, right? We have a governing structure, we have corporations. As much as I hate to say this, our governance relies on corruption. The reason that I think that the way that you're talking about things is better isn't because it's actually better, but because it's more honest. For instance, the most honest governing system humanity has ever had is feudalism. I'm not saying it's the best. I'm saying it's the most honest. There is no guile in feudalism. In feudalism, everyone knows where they stand. Everyone knows where things are. Nepotism is accepted. So is corruption. It's just part of how things are. And when they say, if someone were to say, well, that's corruption, then everyone would be like, yeah, so? It's like, we know it's corruption. We know it's nepotism. We know that there's a certain social structure. And it's just honest about itself. The biggest lie we tell ourselves in the United States today is the fact that we don't have nobility. That's absolute horseshit. We absolutely have a nobility. We keep electing the fuckers to Congress. And yes, I know there's a little self-interest there. I am a burgeoning politician. I did run for office, but at the same time, we're very dishonest about how our country is run. Because it's not run how it was envisioned. It's run how power dynamics work. And was this the natural conclusion? It's entirely possible. I'd like to think there's a better way. But I'd much rather a bad system that's honest about itself than a semi-good system that lies about itself. Because the lie is where you end up in trouble. Maybe that's why I play in the Middle Ages so much. Yeah. Kennedys, Clintons, Bushes. I mean, they're all part of the aristocracy. And now we've got the Gates and the Bezoses. Bezoses? The Bezos. We've got Bezos. And we've got Zuckerberg. And they're the technocracy. And the Hollywood elite. I mean, we have a nobility. And we're not part of the club, kids. You know, I'm gonna steal a term from Cyberpunk, the game. We're the edge runners. We live on the edges. We are the stereotypical cyberpunk lawless subculture. Not lawless. Because we have principles, right? We don't deliberately do illegal things. But we look at things and we say, this isn't what was intended. Jesus Christ, sorry, I'm probably going to get the hiccups. This isn't what was intended. Yes, I am not just a misfit. No. Oh, what the fuck is the song from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? Why am I such a misfit? I am not just a nitwit. Just because I'm not blind, why don't I fit in? And see, that's what we gotta do. We have to push back on the establishment. We have to push back on what is just accepted. We have to question. I remember back when questioning things made you punk. And now a whole bunch of people that think they're punk and they're the resistance. They're corporate shills. It's like we're pushing back by towing the corporate establishment line. Okay. You go. Good job. You know, we have to be willing to stand up for ourselves and say, you know what? I'm willing to be who I am and accept the consequences of who I am, despite the pressures, the social pressures from what everyone else expects. And that's true freedom. And that doesn't mean we'll always be successful, and that doesn't mean there won't be pain. But there were people in our past, great people, who said things like, give me liberty or give me death. And we need to recapture that spirit. My ancestor was General Ulysses S. Grant. Who led an army to free men and women who were slaves. His best friend burned a swath to the ocean. And what was considered at the time to be insane, but the first real application of total war. He destroyed utterly a swath through the Confederacy of the Confederate States of America. And he had a quote that I want to share with all of you. It was from his memoirs. I'm looking it up. Ah, you betrayed me, Goodreads. Where is it? Here it is. The right of revolution is an inherent one. When people are oppressed by their government, it is a natural right they enjoy to relieve themselves of oppression if they are strong enough, whether by withdrawal from it or by overthrowing it and substituting a government more acceptable. This is literally how the framers of our Constitution and Declaration ended up creating our country. I hate to say it, Jeremiah H., but unfortunately, I'm related to him by marriage, not by blood. But there's a more important version of that quote. If I can find the goddamn thing. You know, I wonder if it's in Wikipedia. So, give me just a second. I'm going to look this up. This is one of the most important things I've ever... memoirs. Okay, I need to find it because this is really important. This is important enough to where I'm willing to risk losing everyone viewing this to find it. Presidency, biography, wiki quote. I think that's where I found it. Let's pick up another mob. State of the Union addresses. This is it. He served 2 terms. Here it is. The right of revolution is an inherent one. When people are oppressed by their government, it is a natural right that they enjoy to relieve themselves of the oppression if they are strong enough, either by withdrawal from it or by overthrowing it and substituting a government more acceptable. But any people or part of a people who resort to this remedy stake their lives, their property, and every claim for protection given by citizenship on the issue. Victory or the conditions imposed by the conqueror must be the result. So even President Grant, who himself put down the rebellion of the South, stated that it was the right of those people to make revolution under the condition that they accept that they could lose everything for it. And they almost did. A lot of people did lose everything for it. And that revolution ultimately failed. As well it should have, because of what it was based upon. But we as a subculture need to understand that for our revolution, while keeping in mind the important things, like making sure that people are kept safe insofar as we can, living life is a dangerous matter. And above all else, freedom, the liberty to choose for ourselves, is the most important thing. That was the point I was trying to make. Honestly, there are days I wish that I could resurrect the people who founded our nation. The United States, I should say. And send them to the Congress with cricket bats. Be like, have at it, gents. It is all yours. By the way, let me introduce you to the horseless carriage. And see, I like the idea of a lot of other countries, but here's my issue. There are certain things that we have enshrined in the United States for all of our issues. So for those of you who come from other countries, the U.S. is a very interesting situation. See, our nation was founded on an amalgamation of various cultures in Europe. We actually took a lot of our premise from the German imperial system, matched it up against the English system, and said, roll the dice. Oh, we'll call it the United States of America. For better or for worse. But the American system is so unique because we have a system where we have broken the basic rights of life, liberty, and property into 9/10 inherent rights that are constitutional in nature. And one of those rights is that we've broken liberty, life and liberty into certain things, and one of the things that we have here in the U.S. for the most part is the right to self-defense, and that right to self-defense doesn't necessarily exist in a lot of other places. Even though you in my opinion, you have an inherent right to self-defense, in a lot of places it's illegal to do so. You can go to jail. Like, I live in Vermont, which is one of 50 states and one of 4 in the United States that were a republic prior to becoming a state of the United States. The other three being Texas, who seems to think it was the only one that was ever a republic, California, and Hawaii, which was actually a kingdom that we forced to become a republic, which was bullshit, and then we turned it into a state. But it's that inherent right to self-defense that really shaped how we did things here. How did someone global at 0 pack? I'm trying to figure that one out. Hang on, globals. Yeah. A rare item. Oh, it was a Nawa core worth 0 pack. Okay. Okay. It wasn't that it was worth anything, it was that it was a unique item. And I don't know that you have that inherent right in New Zealand. To me, that is the most important right of all, the right to protect your own life. No, that's not true. The most important right is the right to freedom of expression, followed very closely by the right to protect your own life. But you really can't have one without the other. And yeah, unfortunately, that means I do believe in the right for people to be assholes. That doesn't mean one needs to be, you know, that doesn't mean I have to associate with an asshole. But you do have the right to be one. You know, you can't protect people from other people who say mean things. You can't legislate that, I should say. You can't call them out for being a dick for doing so. It's just the way things are. And that's why I believe so much in the Bill of Rights. And I know there's a lot of arguments in my nation right now, which I'm going to be doing a podcast on the U.S. system and how it operates, because there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of misunderstanding about the U.S. system. For instance, that I know that there's a lot of people who live in other countries that think that the federal government in the U.S. is supreme over the states, and actually that's fundamentally incorrect. The states in the U.S. actually have more authority than the federal government in a lot of issues. And the Fed can come in and say, you need to do a thing, and the states can just flip them off, and there's nothing the Fed can do about it. Which is why the way we designed our system, where the majority of our military is National Guard and not standing military, because the state governors can say, nope, National Guard, you are going to stand against the federal government for the bullshit they're pulling. National Guard will say, okay. Tell that to Europe, right? You're right, Bob. You're absolutely right. But it's like, in the U.S., we have the 10th Amendment of the United States Constitution states that anything that is not otherwise given to the federal government or prohibited from the states by the Constitution itself is the right and the responsibility of the states. Which is why laws in the U.S. are so different across states. We aren't a single country. We're literally 50 countries in a federation, each with its own distinct laws and customs and culture. And like, I've lived in 4. And Vermont is different from New Hampshire. They're right next to each other, which is different from the North Dakota, which is different from Montana. We're all different. And the reason it works is because we are semi-sovereign entities that all interact with each other using a federated system. But the fact of the matter is, we have a founding document. And that document's the Constitution, which has been amended, I want to say 26 times? I'm looking it up. "27 times. It's been amended 27 times. The first 10 is known as the Bill of Rights, which are thusly: the First Amendment protects freedom of religion, freedom of speech, which also means freedom of expression, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, and the right to petition the government. The second protects the right to keep and bear arms. The third restricts quartering of soldiers in private homes. The fourth prohibits unreasonable searches and seizures and sets out for the requirements for search warrants based on probable cause. The fifth sets out rules for indictment by grand jury and eminent domain, protects the right to due process, prohibits self-incrimination and double jeopardy. The sixth protects the right to a speedy public trial by jury, to notification of criminal accusations, to confront the accuser, which is something corporations ignore all the fucking time. And I really think that corporations should be subject to the Sixth Amendment, to obtain witnesses and retain counsel. The seventh provides the right to a jury trial in civil lawsuits. That's why corporations should be subject to the right to face your accuser. The eighth prohibits excessive fines and excessive bail, as well as cruel and unusual punishment, although it's really vague on what that means. The ninth states that rights are not enumerated in the Constitution are retained by the people. And the 10th states that the federal government possesses only those powers delegated or enumerated through the Constitution. And this is something a lot of people forget. It really is. States in the U.S. are internally sovereign. A law passed in New York does not affect Vermont ever. It might affect Vermonters, but it does not affect the state. And the state can sue another state. So, like, if Vermont and New York got into an argument, Vermont can sue New York over a New York issue that affects Vermonters directly. Now, they may or may not win. The Supreme Court has been very reticent to take up those cases, as this last election cycle has shown. But they can do it. They can't wage war on each other. In fact, the last time two states... there aren't many documented cases of states waging war on each other. You have the U.S. Civil War, which was the only civil war that I have ever seen in history where two sections of a country literally, like, draw a boundary, uniform soldiers, and just stand in lines and shoot at each other. The only other time that a state and an independent republic that became a state ever faced off against each other was when the state of New York and the Republic of Vermont, yes, the Republic of Vermont, not the state of Vermont, faced off, and this Republic of Vermont decided they were going to annex, like, a chunk of New York and dared New York to take it back. So, Bruce, yes, I know, and that's one of my contentions with New Zealand and a lot of Commonwealth nations to begin with. In my opinion, is the right of an individual to defend themselves. And that right includes the right to keep and bear arms, with a certain responsibility that when called to do so, they might have to bear those arms in defense of the state itself. That's actually an inherent responsibility in my state. In Vermont, we have something called Article 16 of the Declarations of the Rights and Responsibilities of Inhabitants of the State. And I can pull that up real quick. So, the Vermont Constitution. The Vermont Constitution has 2 chapters. And the first is a Declaration of the Rights of the Inhabitants of the State of Vermont. And under Article 9, there is an exception for this for conscientious objectors. But under Article 16, it reads that the people have a right to bear arms for the defense of themselves and the state. And as standing armies in a time of peace are dangerous to liberty, they ought not be kept up. And that the military should be kept under strict subordination and to be governed by civil power. And so what they saw is standing armies, and to a certain extent law enforcement, other than standard constabulary, which are often elected here in the U.S. In Vermont, we have elected constables. Not constabulary was expected to be subordinate to the people who elected. That's what we elected them. We also have sheriffs that are still elected to this day, which is why there are a lot of sheriffs in the U.S. that defy governor's orders, and there's not a whole lot the governors can do because they're elected officials. When you have 2 elected officials that are at odds with each other, it's really difficult to reconcile because of this issue, especially when one of them's a law enforcement officer. And so, the whole idea in my state is that the whole of the people, much like George Mason when he wrote the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, because he was the author of it, the whole of the people form the militia, and it's the whole of the people that have the right to bear arms. And in doing so, they protect their own liberty as well as the liberty of those around them. And whether that's right or wrong, of course, is up for debate. I personally hold this to be true. Because if we are to be free, it is our own responsibility to ensure that freedom. We are responsible to ourselves and to those around us to make sure that we are protecting ourselves and our friends and family. And this is why I carry. And I do. Every single day. Because I believe in that inherent right. Hey, Juan. Any page question mark? Sorry, Juan, I don't know what you're getting at there. Would you mind enlightening us? I'll give him a minute to answer. So there's another interesting subsection in Chapter 2 of the Vermont Constitution that y'all should know about, and that reinforces Article 16 of the Rights of Inhabitants, and it's that the inhabitants of the state shall be trained and armed for its defense under such regulations, restrictions, and exceptions as Congress, agreeable to the Constitution of the U.S. and the legislature of the state shall direct. It literally states that every adult in my state is part of the militia and is subject to call up. Oh, okay, Juan. And hi, Jerome. So, Juan, no, I have not gotten any pages yet. I am working on that. That's why I'm here. I'm going to continue to hunt here until I acquire a page, or I am told that all pages have been acquired. Oh, so we actually have a hard number of 103 deeds. Good to know. Oh, son of a motherfucker. See, this is what I get for not paying attention. And I blame myself. I do. Global! 38 ped. It's actually closer to 39, but you know what? I'm not going to quibble. Only 4? Oh shit, we're in good shape. I'm gonna be on Toulan for a long time. Long time. Yes, you can buy them from the Miracell trade terminal. I am not currently doing what is required for that. But I was aware of that. And I'm going to look into more of that. I know there's some instance runs that you can run. And I believe they're on Yon Island over here. But that is a different fight for a different time. However, don't be surprised when I come out and play that area. From what I understand, all of those apartments are here. And the Nahar Towers, I could be wrong. It looks like there's another zone over here that it might be associated with. But since I'm here and since I can fly around now, I'm going to try to grab all the teleporters in this planet. So, Jerome, CUHOF, you're going to have to clue me in on what that is. But I am interested in looking at the tokens. So, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take a $5, and then we're going to be right back. And we're going to continue hunting because I'm having a blast. I hope you are too. Back in 5 minutes. See you then. And we are back. Okay. We are now in the final hour, kids. We're in the last hour of 2020 on the East Coast of the United States. 2021 is on the way. I should probably switch back, eh? Oh no, I did it. Okay, there we go. I've got two separate systems monitoring things, and I wanted to make sure that I actually remembered to transition back to the game and not just had you all. It's like, great, you can hear shit, but you can't see anything because it says we'll be right back. I largely didn't. You are correct. I'm on the second floor where I record this in my office / studio. But while I was downstairs, I asked someone to help me learn how to assemble my air quotes service rifle in 59 seconds or less. Because that's a skill. It's an important one. And I did remember to mute it when I got back long enough for me to blow my nose, because that's if you hear gaps of silence, there's a good chance I'm just blowing my nose because I have like the world's worst allergies. And the temperature got above freezing today, which is awful for my allergies during the winter because it just rains. And if you want to aggravate my allergies, put me near cottonwood or rain. So yeah. We are in the last hour. I don't even know if they're doing the ball drop this year. I'm assuming they are. Oh, apparently they are. They're still dropping the ball. No one's in Times Square, but they're dropping the ball. Thank you, Juan. Yes. What is... Oh, they're way over here. Okay. Juan, you are awesome. You know what? Once we finish rank 11, we're almost done. I've only got like 5 or 6 kills left. Let's waltz over there and just take a look at it. I want to see what those instances are about. You need 360 tokens to buy the card and then start the instance in the beach. Okay. So one, if cards NPC, which is way up here. So are the tokens acquired off mobs or energy cells? It looks like I've got some prep to do, so it's not like we can jump into instances tonight, which is kind of a shame, but that's okay. That doesn't mean we can't check out the areas that he mentioned. So, we're at 95.8. Once I hit rank 12, we're going to jump into Sleep Near. We're going to head down here. to find the instances. Hopefully there's a TP there. And then we're going to head up here to check out this area. Hopefully there's a TP near there as well. Okay, so if you finish the instance, you open 3 chests. Let's see, what's the Thank you, Juan. I really appreciate it. Here I am racking my brain for the appropriate Spanish response, and my son knows better Spanish than I do. My languages are Latin to a much smaller extent Japanese. No, fuck it, let's go. Let's do it! We're gonna locate these guys. Or peoples, these NPCs. I love how there's like this square, and this is a zone for a wave event. That's actually really cool. But I love how the square is so blatantly outlined. It's like, this is the zone event, clunk. Oh, okay, thank you, Juan. Muchas gracias. I've got to ask one, I'm not trying to be patronizing, I want to know for my own edification. Because of your name, is your primary language Spanish or English, just so I know for sure? Because I do know some functional Spanish, and I'm more than happy to honor that heritage by speaking to you as such. I'm probably going to unintentionally insult someone by saying things like that at some point, but in my opinion, by speaking to someone in the language that is native to them, then you are showing them that you respect them. So like when I was working at a bank, at one of the major banks, I ran into a Japanese, and she was teaching here, and she was visiting, but she was teaching like on an exchange program. And so when she walked into my bank, I spoke to her in Japanese to honor that heritage. And I'm a Japanophile to begin with, which helps, so I know some Japanese, although not a huge amount. But oh, you're from Puerto Rico. Awesome. I shocked the living hell out of her. So I've got a question, Juan. I'm here. But this looks like I'm waiting for the Lady of the Lake. Oh, there you are. Okay. So, folks, this is Juan. I appreciate it, my friend. Oh, gotta pick up my ship here. Hang on just a second. No, 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 no. Pick it up. There we go. Oh, it's a cave. This is wicked. Check this shit out. Whoa! What is this? No shit. Where's my fucking bow emoji? Like, I need to express my appreciation for this. Don't even have a good one, thank you. Must be in the team. Oh, one's already in a team. Okay. Let's do the thing. I'm all for it. I hope I'm not lagging out. I'm probably downloading some shit here. Like, I can't do anything. Okay. Okay. We're going to move this down to here. Level 2. Yeah, let's not waste a huge amount of pen on stuff. Toulan appears to be the place. This place is awesome. Look at the shadows. That's... wow. I don't know if this was the original Toulan team or the Monria team that ended up taking over Toulan, but fantastic job. Just outstanding. Oh, wow. I did not expect this to positively affect our Tab challenge. Open this, and we're going to go to Tab, and we're going to track it for now. I'll claim the rewards later. This is a great way to deal with tabs. Level 2 is provider. Son of Ludius, that is awesome. Okay, Juan, you win the internet for the night. Son of Ludius. The gladiator, Lara. See, I'm not showing any loot for these mobs. That's really weird. Hey Juan, are you using the Barbarella? Okay. You know, I might spend the money on Barbarella just to have that extra little tick up. I'm finding it better than Bookins in a lot of ways. My only hang up is that it's 70 USD for me to acquire one with all of the bells and whistles. mean, yeah, I can use whatever I want, but it's a matter of cost to effectiveness ratio. Cost benefit analysis. This is the Barbarella. It's only available in the web shop. It's slightly better than my own Buchan spare rifle, adjusted. With my attachments, it's slightly less useful with the efficiency, but it's got much better in damage. And 2 points may not sound like a lot, but over time it means a lot. It really does. And the ammo burns standard for the difference. Hey, Whiskers gained a level. Yeah, something like that I would work on tearing up. Just like I need to tear up my ghost armor and my Tyrellian armor. I'm really curious as to what Kuhoff means. We're getting there. I still don't know what Kuhoff means, but I'll work with it. We have to work with the Kuhoff. I do not know what this means, but that is okay. Yes, please smash the like button. Oh, he has a boss. Where is yon boss? You have 5 minutes to leave? Jesus, they even put a friggin' limit on how long we have to leave? Loot box! Okay. Whoa, these things are huge. That's what she said. Okay. Thank you, Juan. Oh wow, so there's dailies. One, thank you, that was good to know. I might actually pick those up here pretty quick. Meantime, I am going to go back and finish what we were doing. Okay, that's really good information to have one. I really appreciate it. Aha. And after we're done here, we go to the other waypoint you gave me, right? I don't usually wait 60 seconds, but when I do, it's for a teleporter. Hey, Juan, I really appreciate the support. Thank you. Okay, well, so let's get back to business. Okay. I'm still here, Juan. What's up? Juan, are you sure? mean, I won't look a gift horse in the mouth, but I appreciate it. I really do. Everyone, give a big cheers to Juan Kanpai for his contribution to my success. We'll head up there next. Yes, thank you. Sorry for the delay there. I am discovering that running a stream for this long does incur some penalty to my ability to stay alert and realize what I am doing. Thank you, Juan. A very worthwhile evening. The damn cliffs. There's a joke there somewhere. These damn cliffs. Okay, sending us another waypoint. A PC for the cards are down here. We are up here. at the damn cliffs. Small island instances. Oh wow, there's instances down there too, okay. Oh, Juan, you're fine. We're gonna like the last 15 minutes. I am falling asleep where I sit, but we're gonna get there. Even if it takes us a minute. To the left. Oh, there it is. Okay. Kadar card, a Shamdar card, or a Badar card. 360. We have enough for Badar card. Did that almost make it? Okay, sorry about that, guys. Here we go. Okay, so we have that piece. Is there a TP around here? think the answer to that is a big fat no. Nope. That's okay. Okay. Yes, Swan, you are right. We are 9 minutes, actually now 8 minutes to the new year. We are almost there. We gotta make it. We have got to make it. I am falling asleep where I sit, but we are going to make it to the new year. Jesus Christ, we're gonna get it there. See, this is why I don't do these things. Oh, there's a cliff there. You know, I knew hiccups would be an issue. And here they are. We're here. Happy New Year, Bruce. I just realized I was on mute. Okay, we are 4 minutes left. We are going to end it here. I have the hiccups in some nasty way. I'm going to sit here until we hit the new year. Because we are almost at 3 minutes. And a massive case of the hiccups. Jesus Christ. I'm here to tell you, hiccups suck. We're almost there. Come on, 2021, we're only a minute and a half away. What's on their back? Tabs are like squirrels. Oh, I see. It's the way they land. We're almost there. We got 1 minute left. Kill one more. That's it, folks. We made it to midnight. By my clock, it is 2021. Holy crap, we made it. We're alive. We made it. I'm awake. Kind of. With hiccups. We'll get there. Okay. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe down below. We're on the road to 13 million subscribers. One subscription at a time. So make sure you subscribe. And as always, I appreciate the support and the fact that you're here. We will see you in the next one. Happy New Year, everyone. Hiccups and all.